Right, and I'm live. Hello again. This is Chad Everett Broshears. I am the host of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia. And as far as the Foundation series goes, this is the second area of the eight in the Foundation portion. So there's three phases to this series that goes over this one in particular is community. So when you think of community, a lot of times people think of community in the larger sense of multiple people around them, area they live in, that kind of thing. What I want to get to first, because the Foundation series is about the insight, to give us enough information that we can start assessing where we are so that we're more effective when we actually try to make change versus trying to make change with unseen variables or just variables that we haven't appreciated and expect that they're just going to move out of the way or give you enough opportunity to make the change. A lot of times people are like, oh, you won't find in this series the whole destiny concept or fate concept of, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. Most of the time when I hear that and I do engage with the person, I find that they're limited on their awareness, their base knowledge of what it takes to make change, but they're motivated enough to do something. The problem is that motivation burns them out, and before they know it, they're no longer taking action because the variables that were not measured weighed them down and deflated their sense of desire and urgency. So with this series is to help you with more of the community-based enrollment for these changes and to give you the insight of why you should actually take in consideration what your core values are and who you are to your community versus waiting for your community to accept you. Do you even know what you're asking your community to accept? So if you don't do the work to find out who you are, you'll think you have a really great grasp, and you'll continue to tell yourself or convince yourself you know exactly who you are, but you don't know how people are receiving you. You just know how people react when they receive you. So people will change, they'll filter how they perceive you based on their worldview and how they react to you. So they'll react to you. I need to verify that this is actually working. It looks like, okay. All right, looks like there's just something over here. I apologize. I've just got a notice, and I'm hopeful that this is being recorded properly. I guess we're going to find out. Again, I'm using some newer platforms. So, okay. So where I was at is that if somebody has a very optimistic worldview and you do something they perceive undesirable or negative, they will likely filter. They're more likely to filter how you acted towards them in a way that is pleasant and or seemingly accepting of the way that you behaved. But what they're not saying is what's really important for you, which is what isn't being said, is the overall how they really feel about you. But they're trying on this idea of optimism and not letting themselves shift out of that. I view optimism, pessimism, and realism as being gears of a situation, and not all gears fit every situation. So it's what do you switch into in order to help get you through that? But you don't want it to deny you the reality of what you're going through. So if you're talking to somebody who is very optimistic and you may not necessarily know it, I'm sure you've had experiences in your life where you're talking to somebody and you said something and that person reacted in a way that seemed a little off, and as you got to know them a little bit better or talk to them about it, you realized they heard you differently than what you expected to say, or they heard exactly what you said, but they made up in their mind how they wanted to receive you. And it could be that they felt slighted at some other time in their life, and they're putting that back into your space now. So as far as that goes, there's a lot of those things that are going on. The best way of going about working on your community is to become aware of yourself. Where are you? With this series, I'm going to encourage you to constantly have a notebook ready, something that's going to be your developmental diary. What you do with this is you write down these areas that you become insightful on, or that you get insight on, that gives you a bearing of where you currently are. It doesn't mean that ultimately it is where you are. as anything, once you start putting sight on it, things come to your awareness that may not necessarily be 100% true, but they occur to be true. As perhaps it's because you put in effort to make it true, because you put in effort, and therefore because effort realizes something, you think to yourself that now you understand something a little bit more about yourself, and you make it true. Even if it's not necessarily, but it could be a symptom of something that's deeper about who you really are, about how you really are in the world. Oh, but because it's the first time looking at it, it really looks good and it probably feels good, but you're not really looking deep enough to where it might be more honest and sincere, where it may not necessarily look as good or feel as good. So there's layers to this. Don't be upset with yourself if you find out that today's insights are actually just smoke and mirrors to you that you've done to yourself. But this is how you find out versus living in a world that you just think you got it. Don't assume it. Create it. So with this, what you want to do for community at this stage is recognize who you are. You can look at the people that you interact with on a regular basis, and that comes from different places in life. Some work, some family, some friends, some maybe outside social gatherings or whatever, however it is, at whatever time you watch this video. I really say that because right now we're kind of still in shelter in place from the COVID-19. But as far as this is concerned, it's more of realizing who you are overall. So first off, as I did in the body maturity or the physical maturity, you had to come up with an understanding of what your needs are, your basic needs for having a healthy body, or how you currently value your body. Is it something that you want to be healthy long term, or are you merely right now focusing on something else and getting by with your body as you put your focus and attention elsewhere? So with the community aspect of it, when you're going to make change in your life, people know you from the day before you made the change and decided to up until that point. People knew you or know you for who you were. And however that is for who you were, it's also for how you be overall. So they're going to listen to you a certain way. They're going to know you a certain way. But the outcome can be different than what you think, because they may know you differently than what you really want them to know, but they're going to have a prediction on your behavior. How are you going to act around them so they know how to act back and turn towards you? It's a pattern of behavior they're familiar with. If you don't know who you are well enough to know how you're going to behave with these situations, you're more likely to just play it off or ignore it. But what you sacrifice when you do that is enrollment. And if you want somebody to listen to you differently, you have to enroll them into understanding you're going to be different moving forward, or that you're working on something. For me, honesty always creates the best outcomes, which is you can tell somebody, I am working on something right now. I'm working on being on time every time. I put forth this effort. I started it I started it last week. I have not always been on time since I started it, but it's more of a conscious effort now. So what I want moving forward is for you to understand that I am making real effort to make sure I'm on time every time I make an appointment or make something, like tell you I'm going to be somewhere. So if I'm not, please understand I'm trying to make change, but I do want you to share it. But don't necessarily hold me wrong. Just hold me accountable. So never fails, right? It's going to keep doing this until it stops. Well, I have a Google phone, so it does actually connect. So it makes a little bit of a pain in the ass here. I'll hold off for a couple seconds while this finishes up. Okay. All right, should be done now. So as far as getting people enrolled in who you are, is you want them to understand what changes you're trying to make, and to let them know that all you ask for them is to just be aware that you're making those changes. Now, you can have other requests, but be careful with how many requests you're asking. The easier and more simple it is, And the more you let them know how important it is for you, the more likely they are to support it for you if they're really like a friend of yours, or if they really have investment in how you're going to be different in the future. If they want to see different for you, they'll support it. So not everybody's going to support it. It's not 100%. It's some people want you to stay exactly as you are because it's easier to work with you. It's easier to be around you. They know how you're going to be. And there's all kinds of ways that you've enrolled them in this up until this point. So you want to let them know what kind of change you're wanting to make, but you need to be clear about what that change is for yourself. This is a portion that you want to take into consideration when it comes to your community, what you want out of life, and how your community will play a role in that. Your community will always play a role in your success. You're not going to get there by yourself unless you win the lottery, and even then, there's a lot of people committing to that. And a lot of people are necessary in order for you to win big. Otherwise, you won your money back. Right, so you have to have other people involved in it. With that, you don't really have a whole lot of control over how you deal with your community there, but you do have control of what you do after you win. Now, in this sense, we're not really looking for the luck factor. We're looking for the work factor. How do you change yourself today so that you can have what you want tomorrow without really betraying your former self? Because if you make your former self wrong, you can ask for forgiveness. You can you can apologize for how you behaved. The best way to get the most truest apology and the truest forgiveness is to really own what you did. Whatever that was that somebody's holding against you, is to own it. You're not being a whipping boy or girl. You're not just throwing yourself on the mercy of the court. You're just being honest. Now, if you give motive behind that, it's even easier to understand why you did it. So therefore, it's easier to forgive it. I misled you in this place and I lied to you because, I needed you to believe me so that I got the other person that I needed to support me to say yes on the business deal. So therefore, I needed you to believe what I was saying so that you went at it with the same level of energy I needed you to in order for that other person to believe me where I was at so that they would do what I needed them to do so that we could be successful. And that other person's like, well, why did you do that to me? And I feel like you betrayed me. Well, you just told them why. Now it's more of, I just didn't know any other way to get there. And I don't want to repeat that. You're not asking them to fully believe you'll never repeat it, but you're asking them to believe that you don't want to moving forward. Now, if you betray that trust again, it's all that much harder to get where you want to be. So when you're doing this, understand where you're at, where you want to go. And I keep repeating that, but a lot of people don't do that. They don't know the relationships that they've created. They're like, oh yeah, we're friends. But they don't have the depth of why they're friends or why you're friends with that person, what the relationship's payoffs are, all of this stuff. That's all part of community. But we like to look at community as these larger perspectives, but it takes individuals to make a larger group. Or to make a group takes people, individuals. So if you want to make change in your life, you have to get people to be enrolled in that change. So get a list started of who you know other people, like who you believe you are, and then ask 6 of the closest people in your life questions formulated out of who you believe you are. You don't want to say, well, I believe I'm a really good person, and then you ask a question, am I a really good person? It's like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you gauge, how good of a person I am in the world? You want to preface any of these questions with, I really need your honesty because this is helping me get deeper insight into who I am. I am up to something. I'm up to changing who I am. I'm up to changing elements about who I am. I want to grow in these areas. And if I don't address it, I won't grow. So therefore, this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it. So if you can please give me the greatest honesty. And don't interrupt them when they give you the answer. Let them speak. Write it down. Or record it. Just let them know, though. Don't do it without their awareness. You need to let them know, I want to record this because I really want to be able to listen to it. I want to hear what's there. You don't have to ask all 7 of the closest friends. I do encourage, ask 7 people that you feel like you're friends with or you have a good relationship with and see what their honest feedback is. What can you depend on me for? What can you depend on me not to do? Where have I let you down? And in what ways did I let you down? Am I always on time? Can you trust me with a secret? Do you feel I would pay you back money? Things like that are the base level questions that you can ask people so that you can get better insight from who they are or from how they perceive you. And you need to listen. Close your mouth and listen to them for each one of those and thank them for their answers. And thank you for your honesty. And I appreciate that. And I need to digest this. You can preface it in the very beginning and tell them, I am not going to give my feedback from your answers. I want to take this information in, and I really want to be able to sit on it. I want to be able to understand where this is for you as it is for me. I will get back to you. I'm just not going to do it right away. Or give me a little time so I can digest this. Now, give them that. Because if you just ask them for something and you don't give them something in return, they may feel like you've used them. You don't want that. Even for close friends, they might feel that way. They may feel that you do that already. You want to know those things because that's how they see you and that's how they'll support you. So if it's helpful that I come up with a specific list of questions and post those questions in a place that you can get access and to write them out, I'll do that. But it is going to be based off of request. So what I'm going to do in order to get that request facilitated is please comment in the comment section on this video, whether it's on one of your social medias, YouTube, whatever it is. Let me know if it's something that you want to see me actually produce a list of questions so that you can get better insights on yourself. Again, guys, this is a foundational level of awareness. This is not the intermediate level. This is first and foremost, become aware of who you are and the people around you, and also for who you are to yourself, so that you can start the process of changing elements about you and not freaking people out in your life when you make those changes, because they may think, oh no, something's going on, and think the negative or the worst. And you may freak them out and get them emotionally upset in a way that they think that something's wrong with you and you're not sharing it. You don't want to offset that. Just let people know I'm working on some things and I'm making some changes. And with that, I'd really like your support in making those changes. I have some questions for you. And then once you have clarity about the changes that you want to make, and you start telling people, tell the people that are closest to you in life so they can help you build the habit. I'm going to work on being honest all the time, or I'm going to work on being on time. I'm going to work on, getting all my work done and not procrastinating. Whatever it is. And then you start asking for the support that's necessary for you to facilitate that. If you have questions about any of those as well, please put in the comment section. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here for now. But I can revisit this and make a part 2 if need be. Foundational levels, there's always that option to make a part 2 to make it a little bit more easier to understand. I know with this process, this is still kind of newer for me because it's a one-sided conversation initially. I don't have somebody else interacting with me. I have no body reactions, there's no body language, cadence and response, anything at all to really build off this. So I'm going by what I feel is the most effective. But you will see some of these things change over time. I appreciate your forgiveness for any areas that you may have associated that I may have made error in, or that you feel that you would have done better or I could have done better in. I'm always up for critiquing or looking at it differently so that I can get better at this as well. Guys, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you sharing this with anybody and everybody in your life that you feel that will help, as well as if you need help getting them to understand the changes that you're going through so that you can make a better life for yourself or get to your goals. By all means, please share it, subscribe, hit the bell notifications for any of the ones that give you the option. And guys, think critically. Let's get some foundational things set up here so that we can all make the changes we want to see. We can get rid of a lot of the frustrations we're dealing with when we start making progress. So with that, again, this is Chad Everett Brochures. I am the host of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia, and this is the Maturity Series. So obviously you can always donate too. The closer I can get to doing this full time, the better. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you.